Begin. Oh my god, I have my email up at the beginning of the stream. That's fucking perfect. I'm so good at this. I'm so good at streaming. Yeah, I'm gonna close my email. Jesus Christ. Yeah, don't clip that. There's nothing NDA in there, thankfully. I'm pretty good with my inbox. Also, I don't have a lot of NDA stuff ever because it's not my life. I was going to have the plushie on stream, but Anya has stolen it. I have the... tomorrow, I'm launching a crowdfunding campaign for
like a doll of one of your
there's a doll of one of my characters coming out on Makeship. I don't know if you've seen these around YouTube and stuff. They have people have like a little plushie that they get made. I've got one of those produced. I have the prototype in my house, and so I was gonna have it on camera during my streams and shit. And it's launching tomorrow. I have not been doing a very good job of doing a countdown to the launch, but
dang.
Today marks the day where I finally got back on my bullshit. I'm back on track with a lot of my stuff, and I had a meeting and I got administrative work done before the stream. I think I'm back to being a serious person starting today. That means I need to start doing marketing again. All right, I'm gonna get this plushie and I'll be right back.
All right.
There we go.
Can I see it on here?
It's in the corner of my stream. Let's see. I can do the camera share on here too.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Right, it's loading. Got to build anticipation.
Actually, I don't know if it is going to load because the camera is being taken over by the stream.
I'll just check you out on Twitch.
Check me out on twitch.com/Pete Mohrbacher. So that's actually a pretty good shot, I think. So people can see him, get a sense of the scale.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Hello, chat. Chat's arrived. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so let's get started. Let's see. Do I remember how to paint? For a moment, I was like, I think all of my tablet drivers and all of my knowledge on how to do this has stopped working all at once.
Run that by me again. I was busy rendering a sleeve.
Oh.
Or drawing a sleeve, I mean.
Your ability to chat and paint is 0.
Yeah. I don't know, it's not so bad when it's just a study, but I'm drawing it right now, you know?
Uh-huh. I'm gonna pop out your window so I can...
Yo, what's up, guys?
Hey, what's going on?
Alright, I'm on stream, just chilling, just doing some rock studies.
Alright. Hey, Adam.
Yo.
Hey,
how are you guys?
Doing
How's
good.
your week?
Pretty good. I'm trying to spy. I'm trying to see chat and also spy on Jazz all at the same time. I'm juggling so many windows.
That's a lot.
You're gonna need
It's
an
a
extra
lot,
monitor
lot,
or
lot.
two.
Yeah, I need a third monitor for streaming, I think.
Yeah.
It's getting out of hand. But yeah, I have my Azrael plush is now visible live on stream.
Oh, dang.
So the plush has entered the chat.
Oh, today we're doing a study.
Oh yeah, I mean like every work day I'm doing a study. Actually, I'm like behind on my work, but because like I've been having a hard time the last week or so. I've been making time for the stream, but basically not any of the stuff that I needed to. And yeah, so but today I'm digging through the pile. I'm getting everything done. I'm in great shape. I haven't signed up for a gym yesterday.
Oh, that's good.
I got a membership over the local YMCA, so I could it's it's a really easy bike ride. So like even on like a hot day, if like I'm up really early, I can like bike over there and put in some reps and like get some fresh air and stuff as part of my day, which I'm looking forward to.
Good stuff.
Biking's a good idea.
You know.
I bike a lot when I'm taking care of myself. I love biking.
Oh yeah. Biking's fun. I do a lot of skateboarding instead.
Oh yeah?
It keeps me in check. It keeps me active. On these days.
They've got some really nice skate parks around here in Florida. Seems like there's a big skate culture.
Yeah, for sure. Skate culture's been growing quite a bit. They've been making more skate parks around the nation.
Really?
Mhm. And bikes too. Biking has been picking up a lot too.
Yeah, they just they expanded. They bought up all the old defunct railroad tracks near my house, and they built a giant like a 19-mile biking trail out of like what used to be old railroad tracks.
Oh, I bet that's awesome.
It's great, and like when they first finished it, I was on there all the time, and then over the last like year or so, I haven't been using it as much. During the pandemic, I was out there on my bike every day because I couldn't really go places, but I could go and like work out a lot of my like anxieties and frustrations out on the bike, which I took advantage of.
Yeah.
And recently, I have been like mega cooped up. And so I'm been thinking I need to just like make this a habit again. And just like every time I feel like kind of tired and frustrated and that I'm just going to go and like pedal it out instead of like hanging out at my bunker playing video games.
Yeah, that's a lot of help you.
Oh, it's so useful, man. It's so helpful. It's like I have some pretty good running trails by my place, and it's like you said, whenever there's a sort of mental blockage, or I can feel a buildup of anxiety or anything like that. That's the golden key.
Damn. I actually have no idea what you guys are talking about. Whenever I'm having like mental health problems, working out makes it worse.
Really?
Oh, really?
That's the first
Yeah.
I've ever heard anybody say that.
Dude, like, especially if I'm like lifting weights, it's just a lot of time to like sit there and think. And if your like thoughts are like a problem, like
I found that okay, so if I get on the bike and my brain is running too hard, I pedal hard and the thoughts are there bothering me, but by the end of a 20-minute session, I don't feel as bothered. Like my brain slows down over the course of it. It's like with meditation, like you start meditating and you feel like shit and it's hard to sit there, and then the longer you sit, the kind of more your brain settles down.
So the thing for me, right? When I'm training really hard, right? I train very hard. I train so much that my mind doesn't think about my problems anymore because it's so tired it can't think. That's how I do it.
When I go for walks, I just look at all the scenery and what people are doing.
yeah, it might work better if I like went outside to work out. I should like do that more.
Yeah, it probably would.
Then there's like stuff distracting you.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I'm very good with like a stationary bike or whatever, but like going out and hitting a trail is like a totally different experience for me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, getting like fresh air and just like smelling the out. You know what I mean? Like the outside smells different than inside.
Oh yeah.
Always refreshing.
It's like 95 degrees out here in Florida right now. So I kind of want to do this in the morning before it turns into like, because like I went out and I was just grilling last night, and me standing by the grill for like 10 minutes, putting on some chicken thighs and bratwurst. I was
Chicken
drenched.
thighs.
I was
Nice.
soaking in sweat.
No.
No, you don't like chicken thighs?
Oh no, I love chicken thighs. No. I was saying, over here, dude, it's hot as fuck too, man. You can't get outside unless it's like in the evening or the morning.
Yeah, so that's why I've been thinking about like getting out there during the morning a little bit more. And like, morning time, it's like been a lot of me sitting on my phone, scrolling through X.com, the future of banking. You know what I mean? I said that to somebody the other day, and they're like, yesterday, and my friend was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, Twitter. It's just, but yeah, like, I'm sitting there on YouTube and Twitter, like, looking for something that's going to stress me out instead of just like, going and lifting weights for an hour. Like,
That's healthy, right?
yeah, I can do better.
Just mainly do what you can.
Yeah. But like I've been pretty bad recently. Like I've been falling behind on a lot of stuff, and I have been not taking care of myself, and it's really starting to pile up. So I need to, like, whenever I get like that, there's always a turning point. There's a point where I get sick of it, and I say, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do better, and I'm gonna have like, today's the day, and I'm gonna start doing better as of like right now. And today I woke up, and instead of like getting into a game or spending too much time like scrolling social media, I took care of an email backlog. I started preparing for my crowdfunding campaign tomorrow,
Awesome.
and then I am hopping on stream on time instead of being 20 minutes late. And so, I think today might be the day. I think I'm out of the cycle. I think I broke it.
There you go.
It feels
Those are the
tough.
small victories.
Yeah. So, I always like, I don't trust that I'm always going to be doing good. Sometimes I do bad, but then like I don't expect that I'm going to be doing bad forever.
Yeah.
It's part of the excuse I use to be bad is to like say, hey, listen, I'm not going to be up to this forever. But I also know that if I don't do something, I will stay like that for a long time.
So that's how I was for a minute. I was going to bed at like 5 or 4 a.m. in the morning, and like that was super bad.
Yeah.
But I recently I just like, all right, I'm gonna force myself to fix the schedule, and I did. I woke up at 4 a.m. today after going to bed at 9.
Oh,
Damn,
4.
Yep.
that's real early.
Man, you got that alpha grind set going.
Do even things exist at 4 a.m.? I mean,
I like getting up that early because I just like being the sun. It's like an ego boost.
Yeah. No, I did 5 a.m. for a long time, so you got me beat at 4.
oh my god. 4 a.m. it's like too early for me.
I used to do 4 a lot as well. It's very nice.
I actually
Yeah,
woke
it
up at 2.
I usually wake up at 6.
But that was not intentional.
You wake up when?
I woke up at 2 in the morning, but that was not intentional.
Yeah.
Did you start drawing, or like what did you do?
I worked out.
No, you're like, oh, fuck it.
You're working out at 2 in the morning?
That's the way to do it.
Man,
That's the way to do it.
Whoa.
Me and my buddies, we used to have like this horrible schedule where we're like, it would be like maybe like 12 p.m. at night, and then one of them would just hit me up and be like, "Yeah, you want to go to the gym?" I'm like, all right, bro, let's go. And then you'd end up leaving the gym at like 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I haven't like been to a gym in a while. Like I just work out in my dad's basement. But when I was going to a gym, I actually would go at like 3 a.m. because there's no one there. I have the machines all to myself. It's dope.
Yeah, it's nice.
I mean, the clerk probably thinks I'm like a serial killer or something. But I mean, who cares what he thinks?
And then you meet all the other people with had schedules.
I never met anyone. I guess the gym just wasn't big enough, but it was always just me and the guy at the front desk.
Huh.
I wish I could go that late. Here, I live in a small town, so that's not possible here, but I'd love to.
Your neighbor's like, "What are you doing at the gym?"
Oh my god.
All right. I'm gonna try to do out my plan because I'm crazy behind right now.
Mhm.
My plan is to see if I can get this done in an hour, and then move on to the second half of the stream working on my painting that I'm behind on.
Is that like your latest angel?
I mean, the recent tarot card, the one that was due a week ago. Yeah,
Oh dang.
yeah, I'm like a week late on it, and I'm just like, okay, I need to start on the next one. I already have a sketch, but I need to start on the next one like a week ago. So I'm gonna get this one wrapped up because it's close. I need to put the lid on it, and I need to stop giving myself permission to just keep like dragging this kind of stuff out.
Do you
My
find
soul.
do you find that like the end is when you're like most likely to procrastinate and drag your feet?
I can procrastinate at any point. Don't you worry. don't doubt me on my powers. I'm capable. All right.
Yeah,
That's capable.
me too.
I
But,
have
like,
an
always find
unbelievable
with the
capacity
end,
for it.
Like that's the easiest point to just like knuckle down and like put in a lot of hours because you've solved the major problems. Like the matter of like putting the finishing touches on it. Unless you don't know how to put the finishing touches on it, in which case it's like, oh damn it, I don't know what to do.
That's the thing is like I don't ever not know how to do the finishing touches because if I get to that stage, I've like already figured out all the problems where I'm stuck. Like I know you had this issue where you're like, oh, I got a finished painting and now I got a finished drawing and now I'm like trapped.
Yeah,
Like
every time.
I've screwed up the perspective on it, and now I don't feel like I know how to finish this thing. It's like I've been there a lot of times, but like when I hit the point where I needed to finish stuff for clients, I started to create systems to prevent that from happening ever again. And these days, like I will sometimes have like that step take too long because I get wound up in a bunch of little fiddly bits that take forever. But I don't ever get like stuck for like long periods of time. I'll put it off, but I like if I were to sit down and put the hours in, I would finish the painting.
Okay.
Because like I just like I have a commitment to not like progress to a later stage until I've solved the earlier stages.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
like I try not to move forward unless I can move forward confidently.
That was a big lesson in that like mentorship you did with the Taylor Payton guy.
Yeah.
It's something I've been like trying really hard, semi-successfully, to learn, like fix things in the early stages. But like it's easier said than done.
It's the reason why it's hard is because like your brain wants to lie to you like over and over again.
Yep. Like, it looks good. Like,
Be like, oh yeah, don't worry, you'll figure that part out later.
yep.
I just get impatient,
Hmm.
get angry. Like I want this done.
Yeah. Also, like, I don't know. I'm starting to think I need to like sleep on it, like before I move forward with like a drawing. 'Cause, like,
You think that going straight from the drawing and jumping right in, you're like you're like don't have a clear vision of it at that point?
Yeah, I've had it like with that princess thing you were like referring to earlier. Like, I like got what I thought was like the rough drawing done. I was like, okay, all right, I can go to bed. This looks good. Or no, it was the opposite. I was like, okay, this looks good. Time to move forward with it. And then like I did some work on it, went to bed, woke up in the morning, and it's like, damn it, the perspective's whack. I gotta like backtrack. I just wasted like 3 hours for no reason.
Yo, dog, this perspective is whack.
Yeah.
It's wiggity whack.
I said exactly those words to myself out loud.
Imagine you had a knob at the side of your head that lets you change your field of view.
I mean, I imagine that every day.
That's pretty whack.
You guys don't live in the fourth wall? What? You know what I found out the other day? Apparently not everyone has an inner monologue.
Yeah, they say it's like 50% of people don't have an inner monologue, but I don't buy it.
Yeah, I was like, no fucking way, bro.
Yeah,
That's too low.
50 seems high.
Yeah, 50 seems high.
You mean that's too low?
I mean, it's like not enough people like having inner monologues. Like, because there's
Me and my voices agree.
it's got to be. I know some people don't have it. Like, I trust them, but like I think some people just aren't aware of what's going on in their head. Like, if you were to poll people and be like, "Do you have an inner monologue?" I think a bunch of people would say no because they don't know what the word monologue means.
Yeah,
It's a
probably a non-zero percentage of the respondents.
Yeah, and then like, you know, if you were to describe like, "Hey, you ever like walk around and you like talk to yourself but not out loud?" They'd be like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, I'm having debates with myself all the time. You know, like always going through scenarios in your head of like the worst thing that could happen, which you do.
Yeah.
I was like, no way, like not 50%, bro. That's wild.
I'm kind of doing things in a different order again today. Like, instead of rendering things out and then adding color, I'm like doing like kind of like rough colored flats. And then I think I'm going to try to like add in rendering on top of it.
That's literally my method.
I don't know. I keep like messing with my method a little bit every single time I do one of these studies, in the hopes that like I'm going to discover some like discover some potential new ways of working, or like new ways of just like messing around with my pieces.
I need to figure out how to not have this weird texture in all my paintings. That's like, because I'm using this brush that's just a square. Like I get this really rough, almost clay-like texture whenever I'm doing a painting. Like I can paint if I spend a long time, I can like paint it out. But like whenever I do my speed paintings, like you probably see, like everything has this like texture because of the like brush or whatever that I don't like. I don't know. Maybe I should just use a different brush.
I think I might just render white over the top of these colors.
Oh, dude, Pete, I decided to try to do fan art.
Yeah?
In
How'd
the
it go?
most bad faith possible way.
Oh, yeah?
I
was thinking about doing that myself, actually.
What I did was I just Googled, like, what's trending on Twitter.
Yeah, what's the most
down.
what is the most popular anime?
Yeah. I saw Baldur's Gate 3 is like trending, so I was like, okay, I like
Uh-huh.
Baldur's Gate. I'll like
Yep.
draw one of the characters, despite having not played the game yet.
Right.
And so far it's been a disaster. I've been struggling like crazy on it. I was like, I'm gonna paint this character in 2 hours, and I'm like,
Yeah, why is it
4
harder
hours
to
in, and
paint
all that happened.
shit if you just have like you're like instantly bored by it? Like
Yeah.
you're like, I don't care if it's not my thing. I'll just paint it anyway. I'm good at painting. It'll be easy. And then like it's like the muse just like it's like, well, if you're gonna be like that, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, no, don't go.
Like, if
I
you're not
need you
interested,
for
like,
for work, for money.
if you're not interested, don't even bother talking to me. Like,
But what I was thinking about doing is like, I was thinking about, now I'm on Twitch, right? I was thinking like, I watch some Twitch streamers' YouTube clips. Like I don't really watch Twitch, but I do know a decent amount about Twitch because I like watch the clips, and I like some of the personalities, and I'm like, I should do some fan art of popular Twitch streamers in an effort to promote my channels.
Oh, that's maybe not a bad idea. Some people have done that. Like,
I'm sure people have done that, but the thing is like I think I could do a different spin on it than what people are really used to, and I think it would be fun. Like to, it's another like I'm a content creator, they're a content creator. I would want someone to do fan art for my shit. Like I should just do fan art for content creators who I think are cool. And I like their brand and like do like a cool piece that's inspired by their shit. And then, do it on stream and then, go and send it to them. Like, hey, I did this thing. Like, hope you like it.
or they can join your stream. They might be like, one of their fans might pop in and be like, oh crap.
I would love to like work with other content creators and be like, hey, do you want to like mess around with trying to learn digital art and go through the basics with somebody who's like not super seasoned on it, who just wants to like mess around and learn it for the first time and try to make some bad art with them. Like, I think that sounds really fun. It's something I was inspired to do early on. And I think a good icebreaker for it would be to like make something really cool for them to show that I'm like good at this stuff first. And then like, be like, hey, come on, I'll show you how to do it. Like, it's not that tough. Or, I mean, it is really tough to do like at a high level, but like the basics are really simple.
it'd be a source of content for them too. I mean, there's like whole YouTube channels and stuff where the entire premise is like, come watch us do bad art.
But like, I mean, content-wise, it's like these streamers are like sitting around watching TV during their stream all the time because they got nothing to do. Like, them getting like art lessons live on stream is content, and it's something we all need to make content. We're all in that game.
Yeah, totally.
So that's an idea. We'll see how that comes together. I've got some people who I kind of already know through connections and stuff. I'll probably start with first, and then try out the format, and that way, like, I won't be trying it out and screwing it up with if somebody like really big ever were to come along. I would want to already know how to do it before they show up. So I build my skill set first a little bit. Also, I got to figure out the tech of like, okay, am I going to be showing? How do I like demo something with another streamer so that they can see what I'm doing, I can see what they're doing, and like Twitch chat can kind of like follow along? Because like right now I'm struggling to be able to see like what you're up to while I'm also able to see chat, and then my chat can't see what you're doing.
But we could like stream.
Yeah, I mean, it could be some sort of dual stream or something. I don't know what the options are, so we got to figure it out. Dustin and I talked about it a little bit. I think this method I'm trying out today, it feels like a decent enough method, but it feels like way slower than what I'm used to. Because I feel like I skipped a step, and now I'm like now I'm stuck like trying to do the color and the values at the same time, and it feels awful. Like it felt fun to like jump in really quick, and now I'm just like I'm feeling kind of lost. Because I'm trying to do two things at the same time. I thought maybe like if the color blocks were all there, then I would just be able to sort of do the thing I do with the values, but like with the colors that are nearby, and it would be easy. But it's like, it's not. Like I think this is probably the perfect working solution for a bunch of people, but I think it's like 100% not me.
Yeah.
This
You
face
normally
especially
go-
is going to be super tough.
Like grayscale the color. I guess you must. You like gradient maps. You're the gradient
Well,
map
it's not,
guy.
even if I'm not using gradient maps, just like having the values laid out and then building the colors on top of them is like still so much easier. At least for me. Some people say they can't figure out how to color something and still have it look good. I don't get it. Like there's so many ways to do it. And then you don't need to
Yeah.
like work out like all of your color shit while you're trying to also like sculpt the form. It's like one extra thing I need to keep in my mind. And so I'm like over here. Normally I'm able to like chit chat and hold conversations, do Q&A while I'm painting. I feel like I'm at my mental capacity. I feel like there's like a needle in my head that's just like banging against the red line, and I'm like struggling.
It can be a frustrating method at times.
Every time I've tried painting grayscale the color, it's been like a disaster.
Oh, you
But
just
my
start, you just go
method
straight into color?
was yeah. I usually just jump right into color, but like my method was just to like do a painting in grayscale and then like paint over it on a color layer.
Oh yeah, well that's of all the ways to do it, that's the worst way.
It was pretty bad.
Can confidently say that's the worst way. Boy, I'm feeling. I'm like, my eyes are darting around and I'm seeing all these things, and I'm just like, oh boy, like because I'm not. Instead of me seeing like a correction, I'm seeing like 3 corrections layered on top of each other. So it's like, okay, well, I need to get that structurally fixed, and also it's the wrong color, and also it's this, and it's just like, it feels overwhelming. Like maybe it's just like it's a byproduct of like, you know, the way I think about things. I'm usually, you know, I'm trying to spot one issue and then I'm trying to spot another set of issues. And when something is like, you know, I just don't worry about the steps that I'm not on. So I have like tons of brain capacity to be able to like worry just about the thing that is currently drawing my attention. And then I switch to another thing that's drawing my attention, and I like work on that. And as I'm like working through each of these different pieces, like I still have a lot of brain power left over. There's like a lot of bandwidth to handle each of these bits. And then as soon as I try to do multiple phases at once, I'm like my brain is screaming at me. It feels so much harder.
The idea of me giving you painting advice is like laughable, but like the way I kind of think about it when I'm just going right in and color is like I just don't think about the color, even though I'm like painting in color. Like I just try to get the values established, and the colors can just be whatever as long as they're like in the ballpark.
Uh-huh.
And then later, if you want to like change the colors, like you can just like sample the area you painted, like manually like shift the hue or whatever and then like brush over it again. I don't know if it works for me because I don't feel like I'm that good at painting, but it's what I do.
I might take this.
I mean, you could try to sculpt the form with the color, you know?
That's what I'm trying. Like I thought, oh, I'll get these color zones established, and then I will do the sculpting using with those color zones that I've already established. Because I was going to be using limited colors anyway. Like in a lot of cases, I've just been doing grayscale for the skin tone.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I'll just use like the limited palette that's already in that little like color zone, and then render with that. And that it was a good theory, and it's kind of half working, but it still feels like it like maybe it's just like my mental habits, but it feels awful.
Just don't feel, bro.
Yeah, just don't feel. Okay, that's all right.
What method do you usually do?
Well, I usually work out like rough values so that I have like the general like sculpture of the figure already built out, and it's just like missing surface details and like, you know, refinement on edges and stuff. And then I add color on top of that, so I have this like rough, I have like all the sculpting done and I have the color palette there, and then I just need to like, the final step is to tighten edges and smooth transitions. But like when I'm trying to sculpt the form, I'm like, all I need to do is like work in black and white. And so I can push lighting around, I can like, you know, push the anatomy around, I can do all of the sort of structural stuff in an environment where like it's just black and white. There's just less information to have to pay attention to. I feel like I could get there, but I was hoping to do an hour, and I'm 20 minutes away from my deadline, and I am like, I've barely done anything outside the face.
What if you do like a senior sergeant style, you know, where he just keeps like he's very tight across the face, and when you go into like the dresses and all that, they're very loose.
I mean, I might do that, but this is me just sort of reporting back on my experiment, because it doesn't really matter if this sucks. Like if it sucks, I'll just, you know, be looking through the folder, you know, a couple weeks from now and going like, whoa, that day I really stunk at art that day. But I'm not going to like have to explain to my boss why my output for the day was bad. You know, like I don't need to account to anybody like why I'm not good at art today. I can just have a bad day and be like, have the experiment not pan out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm waiting for the written report.
The red report?
The written report. Why, Pete? Why did you fail us today?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Man, what a bummer.
No, I'm having trouble too.
Yeah, me three.
I was having trouble, so I stopped.
You had trouble, so you stopped? When the trouble starts, that's when the learning begins.
No, I realized I messed up. So.
Bro,
That's
you
a
have
sin
couple
right
hours,
there.
like, fix it.
Okay.
You don't stop when your head hurts.
Yeah, no, I was.
No, you always stop when your hand hurts.
I was eating.
When your
big
brain hurts,
pain.
you keep going. When your hand hurts, you stop.
Yeah, I was eating big brain pain. earlier.
Punish the brain, spoil the hand.
So unfair.
Sorry, brain. Your discomfort doesn't matter.
Yeah, brain.
Brain discomfort is irrelevant.
What the? I'm so confused.
Stretch your hand if it hurts. Hell yeah, you should stretch your hand if it hurts. But like, I mean, honestly, when I start wearing, if I have a really long painting day, I will make sure to like rest my hand and not do anything that's gonna screw it up. Because like, if I'm gonna be back the next day and like do my job, I need to be in decent shape. And it builds up over time, you know. Like you can really screw things up if you never fully recover, and then you go back in and start hurting yourself again the next day. You can end up in terrible shape.
Mhm. Do y'all have
If
any
you're
stretches y'all do before you sit down to draw?
Nah, I don't have that much of a problem with it. It's just I started to get problems after about hour 4.
But Jesus.
Do you do any like mobility stretches or exercises, or you just keep the hours low?
I just keep the hours low. Yeah, I haven't actually had a time where I was that bad for a while, and then it was like I think last week while I was streaming, I was like having a really long streaming session, and I didn't realize how long it was going, and I was like, dang, my hand's actually hurting today.
Uh-oh.
The first time it happened in a long time. But yeah, it's this is an interesting one because it's like I feel like I'm trying out a different medium almost. It feels a little bit more like traditional painting, just because I don't, when I've done traditional painting, I've worked directly in color, and so I end up with a lot of the same like kind of feeling of overwhelm. Makes me wonder, like, because I've had better luck with working in working in black and white and then doing like even simple glazes, like you're not using hard light but using like more basic glazing methods. And I wonder if like I were to transfer that learning over to traditional, if I tried it that way, if I would get a better result. Because I struggle painting directly in color traditionally as well. I've never done like the black and white into glazing method, the sort of classical Renaissance technique.
I like that look a lot with traditional. I think you can get some really cool stuff done, even with acrylic.
I think the reason I haven't done it before is because I always think I'm so slow and uncomfortable while I'm doing traditional painting that I should just jump straight into it so that I don't fool around too much.
Right.
And then I think that jumping ahead is the thing that's giving me this feeling, because it's like the same feeling of feeling like I'm a step behind.
Right. I think that's one of the things I like so much about, because I think James Jean works in acrylics, but he does these like glazes that just builds up layers and layers and layers, but the base layer is very simple and like very kind of like simple color holds and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he can achieve really crazy effects with acrylics by just layering over and over and over, but on top of a foundation that's pretty solid.
Yeah, that's what I think I want to try out. I wonder if
You
this.
skipped ahead.
What? Skipped ahead?
You skipped ahead way too fast. No, they're after you. They're after you.
Who's they?
Hey, bro.
Don't bro me, bro.
Nah.
Though this slightly more painterly style that I've been kind of hoping to achieve almost feels a little easier starting in color, because it's like because I need to consider more elements of the stroke at the same time, I like can't get quite so myopic about it. I need to like work a little bit more broadly. So I'm thinking about like larger color blocks and like bigger transitions, because I'm like having to address more things simultaneously. So maybe there's some use in it. Or maybe I'm just getting that sense because like I've been aiming for that for like the last week. I don't know. I'm going to switch back. I think I will finish this piece out with this method, and then tomorrow I am definitely not repeating it. I'm going to look forward to like being able to go back to like crawl back to my comfort zone and like start working in black and white first again.
Oh no, you're falling into the trap. You shouldn't stop when your brain hurts. These are the rules.
No. I'm sticking with the brain hurty today, and then tomorrow vacation.
Tomorrow, fun time. Today, brain
Yeah,
hurting.
tomorrow new problems. Today problems, I'm sticking with them. Tomorrow I'm going to make new problems for myself.
Alright.
But yeah, this style that's coming out of this thing feels a little bit more like seeing it like gouache painting.
I don't know, but this is one of the worst pieces I've done in a very long time. I don't even know what's going on. I'm
Jazz,
very
how do you
lost.
feel about Jazz? How do you feel about yours? How do you feel like yours is coming along today?
This is hard, man. I am getting tripped up bad by like rendering the shirt.
Yeah, but you're not the only one in the room who's like having a hard time today.
Yeah, at least there's that. Yeah, I kind of don't feel like... I feel like the only thing I learned from doing this too is that like dark occlusion shadows, man. You always miss dark occlusion shadows on your like work. You gotta put that shit in on your next one.
Dark.
Oh my god.
Your occlusion shadows, really? That's the takeaway?
Yeah. You see under her hair, right? And in the deeper like creases, it gets very dark. I keep not doing that. Like when I do my imaginative stuff, like I just leave everything like kind of, I don't know, the values that are around her like chest or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks bad. And I need to stop doing it. I need to have darker shadows in my work.
He's also like wearing
velvet. Like that's the thing is like you can stylize the values as much as it suits you. Like you could have all the values throughout the blouse be like much flatter if you care for it, because it's like it's a bright color against. So like if you did all the rendering through the face and you have these contrasts between like the dark hair and the light skin and like the dark skirt and the light arms, then you could flatten out the whole value range in the middle on the dress or in the blouse, and you'd be like set. Like you have the option to pick and choose to be able to like, because like right now, I mean, I've got like almost no rendering happening in the blouse, and I think I'm gonna keep it. I don't know if I'm gonna actually go with the dark shadows or if I'm gonna push only to like some of these deeper reds, because I think that might look really cool. Like still try to get like the realistic, more more realistic looking folds, but like keep the values really stylized.
Okay.
Because like
Fuck, I
I've
don't
got
know
these
what my problem
highlights
is
on
now
the
then.
skin. I've been rendering white into the skin, which is like, I mean, totally wrong from an artistic perspective, right? But I actually think it looks kind of interesting because it's like I'm not just rendering black and white into stuff across the board. I'm rendering like white and black into like the hair and the skin and the skirt, but then not at all into the background or the blouse, which is giving them like a different kind of shader.
Okay. Well, fuck. I don't know what the hell my problem is then. Whenever I look at other people's art, like I notice, even in very stylized stuff, their shadows go darker than mine do.
I don't know. I mean, I never go black with my shadows. I always end up using a colored shadow just because like that's the kind of classical way it's done. I mean,
Oh yeah, they don't necessarily go as dark as I've gone here. But like, I don't know. Can I show you what I mean?
yeah,
Like
of course.
after we're done with this.
Yeah.
Like I have a piece where I think the rendering is good in some ways, but one of the problems with it is like there's just no darkness. It's all
I feel like I gave up and I'm just trying to get something.
we need to play the video of the guy who's like fishing for clams and he's like never to give up.
I would appreciate that.
You know what? I have hated trying to get this thing together, but like I'm still ambitious about wanting to like do something cool with it. Because like the more I do these, the more I'm like, I need to just keep giving myself permission to experiment and do cool shit with it. Because like there's absolutely no reason to just try to like to reproduce a photo for the sake of like the photo. Like the photo doesn't care. The photographer doesn't care. No one watching the stream is like, oh, you did the photo wrong. Like the most ideal outcome is that I have a really cool JPEG at the end. Something I'm guaranteed not to do by just reproducing a low-res photo I pulled off of Pinterest that I didn't have any involvement in, you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I kind of just stopped using the photo. we're going somewhere with this. I don't know where. We're going somewhere.
It's not somewhere really great.
It's hell. We're going to hell.
Yeah.
One-way ticket.
I don't know where I'm gonna end up by the end of this, but hey, we'll see.
Skin tones are always so
You know what?
fun and interesting. Like random grays that look blue.
Oh yeah. They always don't fail to amuse me. I'm like, oh, this color is blue, and it's gray.
Yeah.
It scares me. I don't like it. It always catches me off guard. I'm like, oh, this is actually gray.
You get used to it. Eventually you just see it so many times that it's like, you're not fooling me, blue. You're not blue. You're gray.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. It's always like you're not blue.
I
What?
see what you're trying to do there. Trying to trick me.
I always like the super gray like cast shadows, the Hyung Tae Kim like light gray cast shadows. You ever see those?
No.
You just instead of you just take all of your darkest cast shadows where everything flattens out, and instead of pushing it to black, you just push it to light gray instead, and you leave all the midtones and highlights in color. And it creates a really cool look where everything looks like really high key and smooth, but then but then like it's like you have this gray that is like instead of it's weird because it looks My God, I cannot speak and paint today.
Your mind's like, no, focus on this. Don't tell them
Yeah.
what it is.
Hey, Raphael's. I didn't get the name until I read it out loud. Yeah, it was fun being able to pop in a Kuno server for a minute and like shout. It was nice that he wanted to have me pop on the mic and shout for a minute. It's fun.
You shouted?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as soon as I start getting wound up, I lose my ability to control my volume, my talking volume. So it's screaming into the mic.
That's fun.
How small of a value range should I go with this? Because I'm thinking the smaller it gets, the more interesting it gets.
Oh.
Oh man, it always looks interesting when you have a mix of like big and little brush marks. I think that's something I should take away from this too. Like, I always I don't know. Whenever I'm painting, I never want to just like leave the big brush marks in there.
Oh yeah, trying to figure out a place for them to live is like trying to figure out where to keep like a giant tortoise that's just wandered into your yard. You're like, oh, I love this thing, but where do I keep it?
You know, it's like
That's a good analogy.
if they're all big brush marks, then there's no big brush marks. Remember that. Oh.
But yeah, I've done like a decent number of sort of like kind of speed studies of like character designs and stuff like that to try to level up my like speed paintings. And yeah, one of the things I've been noticing is just like I think part of the reason I'm not happy with the results of my painting is like I do too much for like the amount of time I have. Start trying to like smooth out brush marks when just like a big bold brush mark would do.
Yeah, finding the balance, finding where to put a big bold brush mark and where to actually smooth it all out is like the eternal question. I'm like more and more convinced that that's what painting is like figuring out the answer to that question. And like that's what I'm aiming for when I'm working on these right now is like trying to figure out where can I create a home to put all my big brush strokes and all my little brush strokes and all my smooth brush strokes and like figuring out where they all contribute to brushstroke society in a productive way is like to me feels like the challenge. And I'm looking at other people's art, in between these paintings and going like, oh, that's so cool, I should do that. And the trick is like remembering it and trying to like actually implement it.
Yeah.
And I think like over the course of a year or two, I might actually make some real progress on this question.
Oh, I'm out of time.
Oh, are we at an hour?
Yep.
Fuck. I'm not gonna stick to an hour.
I didn't touch the face.
I'm not gonna stick to an hour. I'm gonna go along.
Right.
You have you have permission from me to go a few minutes longer if you want to too.
All right.
I'm gonna try to speed towards a conclusion. I'm not gonna fuck around too much, but
That added something to the face. So it doesn't look as the way it does.
there's just like some areas that I'm not willing to give myself permission to like fully abandon. Like this rear hand is so mitten-esque. It's unacceptable. Wow, we got a lot of thunking going on in here today.
Mm-hmm. If we give her a basic face, it's not even gonna be rendered. It's just gonna be drawn. It's just gonna be lines. Lines. Shoot.
I don't know. Okay, I went from like feeling like the world's worst artist about a quarter of the way through this to feeling like I'm having some sort of like painting epiphany here as I'm speeding towards the end. Maybe it's just that like I've gotten past the ugly stage, but like I have this like idea on like how to be economical with my brushstrokes that has like suddenly emerged into my consciousness. And I'm really excited to like put it into practice. Now that I'm like, you know, wrapping up the details. So, like, once I clamped down on the number of, like, the value range that I was using on the blouse, what I realized was, like, well, number one, like, I have a lot fewer choices I need to make all of a sudden. So this, like, working in color thing stopped being an issue as soon as I, like, gave myself some other limitation to reduce the total number of, like, choices I needed to make. And then it became, like, at this point, it started to become a battle of like, where do I put the edges and where do I smooth it out? Because I started to realize as soon as I started adding some smooth brushstrokes, there was like being able to blend large areas of it together so that I had these like color blocks that would sometimes end in like a hard edge and sometimes go into a smoother one, like became really appealing and interesting to me. And it felt like I had this possibility to like look good if I were to be careful with it. And it wasn't like, and it's not mentally consuming because all I'm thinking about is like the edges. And I just have this one dimension I need to like consider. Because I'm only got it having like two values, basically, a little bit of a third one. And then everything else is just edge, edge, edge. And so it's like working in black and white. But it's also like the finishing point of the painting. So it's like, I don't know, it feels like it's making it easier. So while the rendering on the face was a little tough, like the skirt and the blouse are like feeling like dead easy.
They feel pretty easy. They look nicer, I feel. Though they still don't look good for me. Well, I like the direction they were going in. You know, I just feel like oh, I should have had a better execution of it.
Should be better at art. I mean, I think we can all agree on that. You should definitely be better at art. Oh, interesting. I accidentally pulled the wrong color, and it's like a better idea. See, I was talking about using light gray instead of black for like the depths of shadows. And like I'm trying that out here, where the depths of the shadows on the red blouse, instead of going to black, are going to like a medium gray. And as like a final touch of detail, I think I might do that. But I also might want to refine the face, because it feels like it's standing out in comparison to the other pieces I've done. It's being like just so much less finished. I also have spent a lot less time on it, I guess. Oof. Damn. Painting straight into color, when it comes to like highly rendered, detailed areas, oh my god, I'm not doing this again. This is such a mistake. I wonder if it's part of it is just me like not laying in the structure earlier. Like I didn't have the figure out where the eyes and the nose and everything was at the beginning, and now as it's like drifted, I only have this very relative perspective on like where all the stuff is supposed to be positioned.
You know, I did the exact same thing.
Oops, I had my microphone turned off. I've been talking to you guys this whole time.
You were talking the whole time? Oh my god, it was so quiet in here, and I was like, wow, you must be really concentrating.
No, just turned my microphone off by accident.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Really? I did the same thing earlier, man. I didn't map out where the face should go, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, I just kind of zoomed in on the face when Pete said you can spend some extra time. Although now I want to go back to the dress. I mean, I'm doing the study for the dress. I'm trying to get better at like rendering cloth. So.
I'm curious to see you do rendering. I'm curious to see you do a more painterly rendering overall. Like that's what what I wanted to kind of spy on you for. Just to see if I could nudge you towards that.
I do kind of want to show you some of my paintings that I've been like struggling with.
Yeah, we can take a look at them right after this, because I'm almost done.
Right.
I'm gonna be done in just a couple of minutes here.
All right, I'm gonna start digging those up so there's not like a loading screen for the Twitch chat.
You know what I was just thinking is weird about this is that I feel like this process has forced me to actually consider the subject a lot more. Because like when I'm breaking things down in this very separate way with like each of the colors and the values and everything separately, I'm able to treat all of it kind of abstractly, and then I stand back and admire the way in which it's like assembling into the subject. But like each individual little piece of it is like much more just like an abstract element that I'm addressing like in isolation. And when I'm having to put it all together, I'm actually considering like more of the subject as a whole, which is part of the reason why I feel like I'm getting a bit of more of a stylized look, just because I'm actually considering like what I'm drawing as opposed to just like the shape of some, like, the way that some little bit of fold is curving or whatever.
That's a good point. Sort of trying to focus on copying it, try to understand what you're making and what makes it look good.
Oh yeah, well, what makes it look like it? Like, what part of the figure am I drawing, and like what part is that shaped like? And that's not something that I find myself always considering. I'm able to just sort of follow a bunch of contours, and over the course of it, it assembles itself into a complete figure. You know, but I'm not always thinking about the figure as a complete whole.
I'm trying a thing where I remember hearing where like artists, when they are doing the shadow, it'll literally just be one solid color. And they focus the rest of their detail on the other side of the face.
Yeah, you can do that. Like, just sort of like tamp down the fill and like flatten it, because it already flattens to some degree. And so if you just exaggerate that quality, you can end up like getting away with it. Because like, you know, we're already naturally seeing everything flatten a bit inside any kind of shadow area. Use that to your advantage. See, the rear arm here, it like goes darker into shadow, but instead of, so I have the choice to maybe flatten it with the shadow color, because the whole form does turn a little bit away from the light. But I wonder if I'd be better off depicting that as like a transition to the background shade instead of to the shadow color.
I could sense the frustration.
No, it's not a matter of frustration. It's a matter of like there's certain parts in here that I don't care about. Like it's just like I like the way that like the posture of she's sort of leaning into this beam of light, right? And everything back here is kind of fading back into shadow, and we're getting these muddier colors, and we're not getting a ton of interesting stuff. We do have a little bit of the pose reading from like this side of the body, but it's not the part that's interesting that's giving us like the good parts of the image. So I want to remove some of that from the overall, like I want to remove some of that from the image, take out the unnecessary details and things. But I don't want it to just be flat. I want to have it. I want to play with the texture a little bit. So I'm trying to use bigger brush strokes with a textured brush to see if I can get that look. So I need to make like fast measured brush strokes with my brush size turned up and my opacity decently high to get that level of texture. And what I need is to acclimate myself to using some different texture brushes that do this sort of thing better. Because I have this one way of doing it, but it's not the best way.
Oh yeah, it kinda reminds me of Serato a bit. The way you're doing it.
But like there's a certain point where I say, "Oh, I'm like just a couple brushstrokes away from being done." And whenever I get in that mindset, there's always like well, let's see what happens if I do this. And it makes me want to like try kind of a bold experiment. And that's when like I start actually trying to do something interesting. And if it starts to come together, it opens the door to me wanting to like continue the painting a decent amount.
Feels kind of like one of those vintage like ads that like Fallout is making fun of.
Oh, sure.
1950s packaging and stuff.
Like
yeah.
1940s, we can do it type posters.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Audrey Horne from Twin Peaks. Is that not her? Is that not the same actress?
I don't even know like modern actresses.
That's like a actress from a TV show from the 1980s. So before your time for sure.
How old are you, Jazz?
I'm 31.
Oh, okay.
I'm old by this Discord standards.
By Discord standards.
Yeah.
Discord standards, yeah.
But yeah, like Twin Peaks was before my time, and I'm nearly 40, so. Now I'm like kind of wrapped up in this idea of seeing if I can get this. Maybe I'll turn it down a little bit. I don't know. This is not one that I'm going to be like holding up later as like, that was a great experiment. I'm so glad I did all those choices.
It turned out kind of good. I mean, I'm impressed by it. It looks so...
It's making me want to also flatten out the shadow side of the face a little bit. I just don't think that bringing it to black is like going to work.
It really reminds me of how graffiti painting, fades into the wall.
Yeah, you don't like the contrast of it? I kind of do.
The contrast of it?
No, I didn't say I didn't like it.
The face being
reminds me
having
of
like harder edges and darker shadows and stuff, and the rest of it being more kind of faded.
Yeah, but I just don't feel like I'm pulling that off as much as I want.
Okay.
Like there's a balance of it that I think is like probably even better, and I'm like not quite there. And so I have this like aspiration for it that's feeling unmet. And that's what's kind of driving me crazy at the moment.
I'm just in a constant battle of trying to fix things.
It's like, it's not even a matter of fixing things. It's like I'm trying to do something I've never done before that I like kind of want to do.
The real question is, what is it though?
Yeah, what is it? Yeah, defining what it is and also doing it at the same time is a challenge. So I'm just kind of hoping the universe is going to drop it on me and it's going to like all make sense. Ooh, interesting. Really fuck it up. Get some really impressionistic colors. Totally take out all the life from the skin tone.
Reminds me of more tonalist, you know?
This just had such horrible planning. Not feeling the pain from it. Facing the consequences.
Maybe this is what I was close to what I was imagining. Actually, maybe I don't hate it.
Yes, say it to yourself before you finish it so you can get it done with.
Yeah, I want to try to see if a gradient map adds something of value to it, and if not, I'm bailing. But I'm not giving myself permission to go one step deeper after this point.
Alright, I think I'm gonna bail. It didn't work out for me. It didn't work out enough.
Turns out you were bad at art all along.
Yep. God damn.
God damn. All right. All right. One final touch up. I just want the arm to look not unfinished, but maybe just loosely finished. That's what I want. And then I'm done. And then I'm out.
That's what they all say.
Oh, yours came out great, Chaz. Oh, yours.
Thanks. Yeah, it got easier once I got everything kind of like laid in.
It always does.
No, mine just horrible planning. Plus. I was like, ah.
Okay. Okay. There we go. All right, I'm done.
Do you think all
39.
the suffering was worth it?
Yes, because I tried out some new experiments. I learned about some things I don't want to ever do again. And I got my daily done for today, and I only spent 90 minutes on it. I didn't get to 60 minutes like I told myself I would, but I did do it in 90 minutes.
Great.
Dude, that was a painful experience.
Uh-huh.
It's very painful.
That was tougher than Friday, man.
Some days it's easy and some days it's tough. This was a tough day for a lot of us, I think.
It hurt my soul.
Rock Lobber saying, your shadow values are deeper in the face. Yeah, I know. I know, man. That's the point. That was the idea. All right, I'm posting dailies. You guys post your stuff there too, and then we can take a look at them together and compare notes. Adam is already there. Adam's already
Yep.
there.
Say this every time, but I really need to organize my folders better.
All right.
Oops, I forgot. Damn it.
Oh
Forgot to
no!
crop it.
What'd you do?
I forgot to crop it before I saved it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Adam's came out great. I like yours. It's a nice little vibe too.
And it's not insanely low resolution today either.
No, I upped it. I upped it this time.
You think that's why you were having such a hard time?
I think so. It's just something about high resolution. Just kind of. Also, the fact that it's not just a head. That there's a. I've avoided fabric as much as I could. There's just more things to place than the head. The head's the easy part.
You're talking about a guy who's managed to avoid drawing faces for most of his career. So it's like a big part of this for me is Alejandro's got one too. You want us to take a look at it on stream also, Alejandro?
Sure, man, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Everybody up to the same shit today, so it makes it extra easy to look at them and compare. Oh, I still got coffee left. Whew! This feels like I have done sprinting, but with my brain stem. This was a push.
This is like one of the.
Why is this bitch so hard to draw?
It's one of the worst ones I've
What
done all year, bro.
Dude? What is your problem, girl? Why are you so hard on us?
The forms of her clothing were just so kind of weird and ambiguous. It just felt bad trying to
Well, you went crazy ambiguous with the overall, with the clothing folds. You're saying, "Oh, I've been avoiding drawing clothing folds." Bro, I can tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this thing where you're doing these big square strokes, straight up and down, to just be imagine a clothing fold is in here, is kind of a good idea. I kind of like it. I almost wish that you had just decided to bail and go further with it and just stylize the idea of a clothing fold as opposed to doing an actual clothing fold. Because if you're not gonna commit to it, committing to an interesting simplification, I think is a good way to go. Because part of what I'm trying to learn with this is what kind of simplifications work.
Mm-hmm.
Because just rendering the shit out of everything and doing a ton of little detail, it's this all too well. It's possible to finish a painting and make it look really good in the end if you have 120 hours to spare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I feel like my big problem is I'm not spending enough time in the earlier stages making sure that the base of the form looks good enough to
Right.
commit to the details. Like I end up like dumping hours and hours and hours into resolving details on a pile of shit that I
Right.
end up having to go rework, and that's
Right. Yeah.
quite
So like,
demotivating.
I mean, this is one of the reasons why I've like tried to spend a couple extra cycles at the beginning just to be like, is that arm in the right spot? Does this sleeve kick out the right amount? Like, does this all add up to feeling like the character's hips are in the right place? Like, trying to fix all those structural issues. This is why I felt like I was struggling so bad in the beginning, was because doing that kind of like structural stuff in black and white to me is like super easy. I mean, it's not super easy, but it's like it's like a single problem to solve, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you just need to like work that one thing out, and then if you have it established, then all the other steps that come afterwards, it's like, who cares? Like that, I'll just trust that like me from an hour ago was smart, and just trust their work and move forward with it. And if I can be serious about like taking care of my future self, then like I can trust that that's all going to work out. It's going to be fine. And I found that's been like my secret to like painting faster, is to like be slower at the beginning, and with the intention of trying to make my life of my future self easier. So like being like a good partner to myself across a temporal span, like Tenet, you know? Like you kind of you do a temporal pincer maneuver on the painting, where you send in, you imagine yourself as a some sort of super spy from the future who's time traveled back to the past to make sure that you don't fuck yourself over and have to spend an extra 30 hours rendering, right? That to me that's like the mindset of like the beginning of the piece, is like, I'm at the end of the painting and I don't want to die. Like I want to prevent like catastrophe in this moment where I have the ability to prepare. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know, man. Like I've been like neck deep in catastrophe for the past few months, where I've like committed to doing this painting where I've made a bunch of errors earlier on, and I'm just like just demolishing my mind, trying to brute force it.
Yeah. So like I think I think if you can imagine yourself from the future casting back into the past, like you are inhabiting a sort of like future version of yourself that's now in the present moment, who can solve these disasters before they turn into disasters. I think give that a shot. I mean, I know that's a little esoteric, but like that it's like presuming that future you is always going to solve the problem, like never works out, right?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean, and I think like this last painting I've been working on, I'm in like probably hour 160, and like 80% of that has just been work that has gone out the window because I've had to redo it.
But yeah, when it comes to like clothing folds, it's like if you have like if you can like trust yourself on like where like the edges, like, okay, well, here's where the edge of like the silhouette is, and then like here's where pick exactly where the seams are going to be, and like make sure that you've got those settled. When you have those like bigger angles kind of established at the beginning, then it's a matter of going in and subdividing. So you can just sort of like pick this area and say, okay, well, how many folds do I want to depict across the length of this? And then pick those out. And so it's not a matter of trying to place like one fold among 1,000. You're only picking a handful of them to try to like knock in and figure out how deep do you go with them, where are they placed, what direction are they running, based off of this larger subdivision. But in order to do that, you need to have confidence in your larger shapes early, I think. Right. I like the way that you keep stylizing the lighting and all this shit. It makes it feel like it's yours in a way that like I'm trying to like do all these big stylizations, and like you've just been focusing on like the lighting and the color a little bit, and you're getting tons of mileage out of it. It's very cool.
Thanks.
Jazz. I think you need to try different brushes.
Yeah, probably.
Like I know you were complaining about it early on, so I'm like thinking like it's that intense chunkiness that you're getting
Yeah.
doesn't feel intentional. Like you're getting this much greater level of intentionality down in the skirt where you have like these perfectly sharp, like single confident brushstrokes for like the cast shadow, and then like a really nice smooth transition across like, you know, the front of the pelvis. And it's like that contrast looks so confident and so cool. And then like you get up in here where you've got like all these different midtones that are all like smashing into each other, and you're not doing any kind of smooth transitions at all because like everything is like in this huge traffic jam, and it's like and then you're even getting that to a certain amount of degree with like the face, where it's like, this is where going straight into color, especially like, you see I was stylizing the color so I could feel like I could get away with it, but like when you start taking going straight into color with skin tones, the big trap is that you've got these shadows, you've got these highlights, and then when you mix in between, you end up with these areas that are like grayish, like this.
Yeah.
And it's like you have this like, you know, the nice little rougey shadow tone that's like you're getting across the cheek and the forehead, but then when you start to blend stuff down, as it gets like closer and closer to this highlight, the highlight's unable to maintain like a level of saturation because it's so close to white that like even if you push it all the way up to saturation, it like doesn't have that much color in it. And so as you start to blend that in Photoshop, or like not, I mean, you're using Krita, but like if you're doing it digitally, this is the thing that digital really sucks at, because like with acrylic paint, you've got this like super saturated colored flakes that are being spread over a smaller and smaller area over the length. So like they're really dense here, but they're kind of like loose through here. So it's like you'll still have a saturated color that'll just kind of like gradate down to white. But when you start blending it in Photoshop, it just ends up going closer and closer to gray. And it looks like you've mixed gray paint into, or like you've mixed like black or gray paint into the skin tones. And you get that even more in the shadows. When you start mixing black into the shadows, you start getting these like really harsh gray areas. And it's like, this is the thing, this is the number one thing when I'm talking about like using blending modes. The blending modes are there to try to avoid this problem at all costs. Because it's like, if you, like, what I'm doing is I'm like trying to get the values in there, and then I'm trying to like glaze in a shitload of some color, any color, over the top of it to try to bring that vibrancy back in those spaces that like Photoshop is trying to suck it out of. And like that's like a driving force behind my method, my standard method of working, because like it's those spaces between the highlights and shadows that you ultimately want the most saturation. You know, everyone likes that look where you have that like saturated terminal, right?
Yep.
And yet Photoshop is like actively pulling in the opposite direction. So like, you know, whether it's the gradient map or like soft light or hard light or whatever, that's all there in my work method in order to try to like fight back against like the terrible mathematics, the horrifying mathematics of like digital color processing. There's like apparently some programs that people are trying to like simulate this stuff better so that you don't end up with these same problems. Like I've seen some like demos. I'm not sure. I don't remember which one it was though. I'd rather just treat digital art as having like this weird problem that you just have to like learn to correct by using different work methods. But yeah, I think, have you tried to do black and white into color?
No, I said before, I tried it once and I did it in the worst way possible, and I was like, what the hell? This doesn't work. How do other people do it? I'm going back to like my usual thing.
Even if you don't do gradient maps, like the way to do it, in my opinion, the one place I do use color is I found that one of the best ways to decolorize an image is actually with the color layer. If you fill a color layer with black, it gives you closer to accurate like values than if you were to like say make a hue saturation layer and turn the saturation down. Like you can see they actually produce different values.
That's weird.
Isn't it weird? Yeah, because the way they're calculated is different. I was told, and I just take it, maybe I just take it as given, that like a color layer filled with black gives closer to accurate values. In this case, it's like the blouse is like darker, which is interesting. But I mean, it's a dark red, right? So you want to like, this is maybe lighter. I mean, it's like just because the gamut for red pushes so dark that like this is kind of pushing it a little lighter, while this is like a little bit more accurate to the deepness of the red that you were going for. Anyways.
All right, neat.
It's that glaze. I mean, the trick to adding the color in is like it's all glazing. It's like always been glazing, always will be glazing. And the trick might be for you to just pick a few different colors and just like...
Is this a normal layer?
No, this is on hard light.
Oh, okay. All right. I picked a color layer when I tried it.
Oh, yeah. Like, just don't... like, so there's a few different options. One of them is... the one I use all the time is hard light, because hard light brings in a lot of like the quality of the color, like almost like it's a picking the what do you call it, the local color. So hard light will like, you can see how it's kind of overriding the blacks. It's like pushing the darker tones on the face to like orange. I like that because it gives me a shadow color that I can mix that's going to be nice and vibrant. And so, like, you know, you can add it in, you can pull some of it out, like, whatever, but you can paint in, like, different colors in the shadows and highlights and push it around and try it like that. The other one that, if you want something that's a little less, like, hard light is really, really bold. If you want to lay in color a lot thicker, you know, soft light gives a much softer approach to the whole thing. You have to lay it in a lot more opaque, but it does a lot less to your, it does a lot less to like your shadows. Like you still can get like a bit of a saturated orange out of it if you put it in like a super bright yellow over the top. That was coming out of Jay's microphone. I don't know what he's got going on over there. I have a dog near the mic. All right. And then one of the classic ones is actually Multiply, where people lay down like a base coat of... Come on. They lay down like a base coat of like a saturated color that's fairly bright. And you end up with like this kind of dark saturated base that goes over everything. You know, and then you use other blending modes to build up highlights on top of it.
Okay, I was actually doing that for a while. Like I was using, because it lets you paint really fast.
Yeah.
If you're like, because it's like less destructive to like glaze over on a multiply layer, right? You can like change the value structure of your painting a little bit without like destroying anything.
You kind of inherently have to change the value structure because there's no way to preserve the highlights. Right, if you wanted light skin tone, you would need to do like another layer over the top to like say like pick.
Oh yeah, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah.
A lighter color and then start to like push it back up from there.
But yeah, what I was doing was like some like local colors and stuff, and then build up some darker values with a multiply layer, and then color dodge on top, and just go back and forth to like push and pull.
Yeah, that could work. That could work. But like. Honestly, what I think like the ultimate goal is to get to a point where you have like a rough color thing, because like the point where the rendering happens, I think we were saying last time that I was talking about painting. The reality is it's like there's a certain point where you need to get to the rendering, and that's like, you know, spotting. Some of it is like spotting colors that have gone kind of gray, and there we go, and trying to glaze over some like brighter colors on top of them, to try to like reduce out that grayness. But then also just like finding where you have all those accidental chunky marks, and taking a brush that is good at smoothing stuff. And like there's the Krita default round brush is totally capable of this. I've tried it out. It feels exactly like Photoshop.
Okay, I'll try using that more. I don't know why I'm so married to this like stupid brush that like I hate, but I, for some reason insist on like.
But that my first thing I said to you is I think you need to try some more brushes, because it's like at a certain point, if you want to get a more blended look, like you just take the chunky marks. That's like I think an intermediate stage, and then you you take a brush that can ideally both smooth things out and carve edges. So you can take any kind of accidental edges that you want to like kind of like redefine and get those cleaned up, and then also take any kind of chunkiness and blend it down. And so that'll give you the ability to like choose like much more carefully where do you want to like cut in a hard edge, and where do you want like these two colors to smooth into each other, and like everything in between. It doesn't take that much time if you are being like really brutal about it and just deciding like, okay, you live, this edge lives, this edge dies. Like this edge lives, this edge dies. And then just like working through the painting really fast, being like death, and just like killing one edge and then like saving the life of another, and just going through and doing that like really quickly. You don't necessarily need to look at the whole picture holistically, but like if you do that through a piece really fast, like over the course of just a few minutes, you can clean up a lot of like chunkiness and turn it into something that feels like rendered. But I don't think that you're going to be able to get that with the brush that you're using, because it is so chunky that like it feels like it's a property of the brush itself that's like leaving you with this like feeling of like, lack of decision making. Because like the goal is not ultimately to have like an appealing patterns of like light and dark. Like the goal is to like leave the impression of choices being made.
Yeah, the other thing it does is like whenever I'm doing my speed paintings, if I start rendering, it turns into this weird chunky clay-like texture on like objects that aren't supposed to be that texture, and I hate it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you can. I think you need to spend more time with it.
Yeah. Experiment with more brushes. I plan on I don't know, there's a bunch of paintings I abandoned. I plan on trying to take some of the stuff I'm learning from these studies and like take another crack at those and see if I can like do it this time.
Oh no.
But like, yeah, even just like you can see this edge here, this fold here. It's like edge on one side.
Yep.
Smooth on the other, and then it falls into another edge. And then it's like, it's that control of the transition, like the rate at which it transitions. Like that is the thing that makes things look rendered. And so it really is, it's a matter of like finding like the direction and intensity that you're creating those transitions is like the rendering. And I never see a lot of it in your work. So I have a feeling that you've just been like avoiding it because it's like not clicking yet. But
yeah, I mean, I avoid like painting in general. Like I try to like lean into the drawing as much as I can because I know like painting's just a weakness, and it stresses me out. Like I always hate like getting to the painting phase because I know I'm not good at it.
I think the thing that you're not realizing fully is the degree at which you have flexibility. Because like I'm seeing you do things like you inside this cast shadow, you have really flat, you have this confident edge, And then across here, you're making this nice smooth transition with this warm like mid-tone between the two. Like all the stuff that I've just been talking about doing, you are doing it in portions of the painting. You're just not doing it in others because it's like, I think that what you're missing is that like you're not realizing the depth of choices you're capable of making inside like these more complicated areas. The ways in which you can simplify them or like apply these same lessons, like they're available here too. Like you can simplify the rendering to accommodate your vision any way you want to. Like whatever that vision is, you can simplify, like you can change the colors, you can change the rendering style, you can change the whole value structure of it and like look at it exclusively through this more narrow lens in order to like, not only focus on the choices that you're interested in, but also like have the piece be the look of the piece be about something that like represents like, your perspective. And it's so much easier. Alejandro, do you want feedback?
Sure, man. I felt really bad about this one.
Yeah, why?
I just I had a horrible planning phase, and I faced the consequences of it.
Yeah, you didn't get like the proportions and like the structure of it right at the beginning at all, and it feels like you have been fighting this thing the whole time.
I tried to brute force it when I gave up because I realized it was the proportions were off and all that, and then you guys were like, no, keep going. So
no, you got to keep going. Yeah, you got to keep going. You got to like let the pain sink in.
You.
Yeah, and I came back and I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to brute force this and see if I can get something.
The reason why you got to keep going past the point of mental discomfort is because, like, your brain learns from getting a combination of pain and reward signals, right? Punishment and reward. So, like, when you do something and you realize in a moment, like, oh, I made that look really wrong, or I put that in the wrong place. Like, when you have that revelation, your brain will say, like, no, wrong, and, like, hit the punishment button. And, like, you will receive, like, a sensation, like you're being electrically shocked by your brain. Your brain will create pain to hurt you. Right? And the goal of that is to make it so that you will behave differently next time. But thankfully, you also receive, like, there's moments through here, I'm sure, where you're like, I really love this, like, orange color. And, like, the whole thing looks pretty good. It's like you're going to, like, get moments where things are happening that you're going to be happy with. And your brain is going to give you, like, a little squirt of, like, reward signal, too. And, when you're learning a lot, you're getting a lot of punishment signals. Like, you get a lot of that learning feeling. And it's like, ultimately, you will, over the course of an entire painting, you're going to receive a mix. I get this sense that, like, for me, it goes up and down in waves, where it's like at the beginning, it starts off kind of neutral, and then it sort of builds up into pain. And then it kind of slides back down into, like, reward, pleasure. And then as it, like, gets closer to the end, it, like, goes back up into pain again, where I start, like, looking at the whole thing holistically and considering how well I did overall. And then, I start getting hit with these, like, regrets. Like, regrets start pelting me in the face as I'm trying to, like, get across the finish line. And going through the cycle of, like, happiness and sadness over the course of the whole thing gives a lot of these, like, moments of feedback. The brain just, like, wrong, right, and, like, that's what you rely on to get better. Like, that's like the whole thing of getting better is, like, receiving a complex array of those sorts of signals. So, like, if you start feeling frustrated and bad, like, that's when you know that you have that you actually are, like, getting into the territory where you could be learning and getting better, which is excellent. Like, it's what we want during study time, is to like get a certain amount of pain. Because if you get through study time without any pain at all, like yesterday, I was like, oh, I feel almost no pain except for right at the end. Very little education. But like, I mean, if you do a few days in a row where you're feeling a ton of pain, like, I have a feeling that like just after a few days of that, you are going to feel so much stronger at all these skills. Because it's like, you're going to work to avoid that pain.
Oh no, yeah, I realized that well the past weeks I've just been pain because I just keep finding new things that I have to work on, and I go into a rabbit hole.
There's a lot of things, but like if you push through it, you're going to find it. And like I think my big suggestion for you is to like start slower. Stick with like black and white at first. Get a background tone in there. Keep like the overall like look of it loose. Like, don't worry about getting into details to define like where are the pupils in the eyes, or like where tight little folds are on like clothing, but like keep things very broad in general, but make sure that the structure of it, the biggest shapes on the canvas, are exactly right. And then start pushing into smaller, more specific areas. It's going to make a big difference for like how much pain you receive later on. Like, you really have to absorb those blows at the beginning, and then there's this opening that will open up where you just go like, oh, everything's in the right spot. I just see where things are supposed to go. Like, and you get this opportunity to like have it open up and like feel good. But yeah, if you try to brute force it and rush ahead, you're just going to get like a newspaper to the nose like every time. It stinks so hard.
Yeah.
Pete, we've got some questions in chat.
Awesome.
Comic Stance was asking if you change your into a surface plate sometimes or keep original.
It's the original one. I like the super smooth surface.
And then Jengus Art was asking if you normally start in black and white, and then Huckleberry.
Absolutely start in black and white. So much easier to start in black and white. just because like, you're trying to work out the overall structure of everything while also like figuring out what color everything's supposed to be and like how much light is on it. Like, there's just too many things to consider. So it's like the whole process gets a lot easier when like just a smaller number of problems are being addressed at a time. One or two aspects of the work at a time, and like layering them one on top of the other. Artists been doing this forever. It's the classical way of working. It's still, modern day. It's still the way that like most people's process breaks down specifically to try to reduce the number of problems that you're trying to solve at any one time. And like, color is a big problem. Color's hard, and like it interacts directly with value. So trying to like hold both of them in your mind simultaneously while trying to get the anatomy on a face right it's like trying to juggle while riding a unicycle. I don't know why that is treated as the default. Like, this isn't a circus show. Just like make it easier on yourself. And it's, that's it. Let's see.
Nice. And then Georg was asking if you ever change the flow.
I always change the flow. I turn my flow way down. I'm going to give a demonstration on my stroke here. This is my brush with the flow turned down the way I like it. This is what the brush looks like without the flow turned down. And the reason for that, if you hit Shift 1, it automatically turns it down to 10% in Photoshop. Because like this way I can carve hard edges, and I can also like smush around softer edges with the same brush. That's what the lower flow does for me. I don't want to be switching a bunch of tools or pulling up tool like the brush tab all the time. I want one brush that's able to do all the shit. Allow me to do all the rendering. Because like rendering for me is the fun and easy part, and I want to like make it like the fun zone. So yeah, The low flow brush has been my secret to like entering the fun zone for a long time. Yeah, like the assumption for a lot of people is that the way that you make things smooth is by using a soft brush. One of the problems, there's so many problems with it. One of the problems is that like if you try to like, you have to like go over it forever until like the hard edge is completely eliminated, because you have like a fully soft edge next to a fully hard edge. What you get with like a lower flow brush is, you get a lot of variation. There's some harder edges, there's some softer edges, there's some really soft edges, and like they all kind of blend together in this like more clay-like mush that doesn't, you have more control over it. And you don't end up having to switch your brushes all the time. I think soft brushes are like really dangerous. They're super dangerous. They're radioactive. I wouldn't recommend that people use them by default. Like I would say beginner painters should like only use a soft brush with the permission and supervision of an adult in the room. Like you got to ask your teacher to pull the soft brush out of the cabinet and like give a good explanation as to why you should be allowed to use it. All right.
What were you adjusting? I'm trying to reset so I can see your stream. I can't see it at all for some reason.
Oh, really?
It's probably just me. I just restarted. You said
okay.
you adjusted flow, Peter. I'm sorry.
I did. I turned my flow down on my round brush down to 10%.
Oh, okay.
But I also have the spacing down. You can keep the flow up, I think, a little higher if your spacing's further apart. But I turned my spacing down to 5% also.
I'm just curious.
I have this painting I need to finish. I was thinking of working on stream. The plan was to do an hour study and then have another hour to like work on this, but we were all doing the same thing. I thought it'd be interesting to compare notes and everything. Man, there's a bunch of more people are posting more stuff up on the dailies. I love seeing the dailies channel on the Discord.
Right?
Everyone's getting in there and trying to get better every day. This is tough, man. This whole art game is a tough trade.
Yeah.
Just like how it should be.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we signed up for it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. My whole experience with art has been like, oh man, like I should do art, and then a gradual series of realizations of like, fuck, this is harder than I thought it was. Okay, now I understand how hard it is. And then later, fuck, this is harder than I thought it was. And that just keeps on going.
Let's see. I want to push how do I pop this back in?
But that's why I swapped to environments, so I don't have to draw people.
Return to app. Okay.
Oh no.
I'm gonna have the channel chat open. Oh, you've got you were pulling up your other stuff. I forgot about it.
Oh yeah. It's just so yeah. These are like, I put them in the chat on Discord. Yeah, so like that one's a client illustration I did recently that I hate. That one is a painting I did after doing a bunch of value studies where I feel like I leveled up a bit, but I don't like how the rendering on the head turned out.
This is like you. Reference. This is a reference. Okay.
Yep, that's a reference of Aoin Hatsu. Is that artist I like mentioned before? And I was like referencing it heavily for the Purple Princess.
Okay. Yeah. I like. See, this has got that chunky, brushy look, right? That's something I want you to have in your quiver because it's like it's a great tool to have, and it's something that can really complement like the linear style of anime.
Yeah, I really love this guy's painting style. Like, if I could paint like anyone, it'd probably be this
But
guy.
this is the stuff I'm yelling at you about today is like me trying to push you to be able to like do this. Like, cause I'm looking at like the little color accents at the terminals.
I know, I love it.
And
He has,
like
crazy rainbows and everything.
Yeah, I mean it's like well, the thing is like all the blending mode stuff I do leaves me with a lot of weird accidental colors, and then the step afterwards is to like grab them and push them around into places. So like you could see like when I was doing hard light over some of those shadows, they were like turning bright orange. You can see the same thing happening here where these edges that would be when they were grayscale, would be like dark gray, but then you hit them with whatever the skin tone is and they like light up from the inside and turn to this like rich mid-tone orange. And then you use that for like the lines when you start rendering everything. And you've got like, you end up with these accidental colors where like, okay, it's not going to be everywhere. It's not like it's just happening on accident, but it's, you have them in the mix so you can start pushing them into each other and blending them in interesting ways, and like grabbing a color from one some accidental little hit of color will happen as a result of you overlapping something incorrectly when it's rough, and then you go, oh, that's a nice color, and then you start like adding it into, like, you take a pure version of it and you like scrape it in for a nice little mark like in the eye or something, and you take all of the colors from around the canvas of all the different little accidents and you like merge them into like the focus area to create like this nice rainbowy palette. And it's good, and life is good. And I think you can do that. Like one of the issues you're running into is it's just like every single different object, like whether it's the metal or the cloth or the skin tone, it's kind of got its own little isolated color zones. And you're also, you don't have a background on this, which means that you don't get the sense of ambient color kind of coming in from around the whole scene that this guy's benefiting from. And you don't even need to draw a bunch of weird shit in the background. It's just like, even if it were like clouds or some sort of abstract color field or something, to be able to like put the skin tone and like the fabric and everything in like a color context makes a huge difference. It's interesting the way that the hair's like see-through, like it's made of like jelly. It's kind of a cool look.
Yeah.
But yeah, like all of the mid-tones on like the armor and stuff are all being informed by the color values of the piece overall on here, while in yours they're like pushing to white because the context for your image is like a white background. Doing color on a white background is so fucking hard. Like I think that's part of what's like making it difficult on you.
Yeah, I think so too, actually.
The first step I make every single time in every image is just at least start from a light gray. Because like blasting my eyeballs with white to start off the image feels like impossible. And then like you're trying to get everything looking shiny, but you're ending up with, on your white cloth and on your armor, like tons of areas that are just pushing to basically solid transparent white. Like part of what makes things look painty is like being more selective. You can see how little is pushing all the way up to white in here. Like the reason that this sword can get this glow on the edge of it is that so little of the white areas, like you can see inside the glove here, they're all pushing to like light gray, which is leaving enough room above them to be able to put the highest highlights in. And those like, you just can't get that level of like shininess unless you dim everything else. So starting from the top and trying to work your way down from the value levels is like so hard. It's way easier to like start from the middle and then push upwards in a few areas and push downwards in a few areas and leave everything else kind of hanging out in like shades of gray in the middle, you end up with like a much easier job balancing it all out.
Okay. Yeah, I did a bunch of value studies sort of after I did that princess, and that was the main thing that jumped out at me. It was like, wow, like there's literally like 15 or 20% too much white throughout the entire piece. Like whenever I do like a painting,
There's way too much white. The amount of white you have is like is choking out a lot of your detail, because like it's putting us in this situation where we're having to read everything at like maximum contrast. It makes it so much harder to read, especially because we don't, like with the white greaves against the white background, we do not get a sense of this silhouette at all on the initial read. Like I have to spend time reassembling the image in my head instead of getting a really strong like read of it off the bat. And like the larger shapes of it do not stand out against the smaller shapes just because every single inch of it is being subdivided equally with equal contrast. That's like, it's possible to parse it. It's just, it takes so many extra brain cycles to parse it compared to like if you were doing this as, you know, breaking this into larger shapes first and then picking out key areas for the highlights to create a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
And
when you say it like that, it feels like there is so much stuff to keep in mind that it might feel a bit overwhelming, don't you think?
Kind of. My takeaways are don't work on a white background. Try to like lower the overall value range. Keep it more in the middle.
Yeah, I mean,
have soft edges. Try different brushes.
Yeah, you're getting some really good results on some of these other ones. I mean, you've gotten there.
I did that one after doing the value studies. And I
oh,
feel
okay,
like
yeah. Huge jump forwards.
And a lot of what Peter's talking about is it isn't really all that complicated. It's just a series of systems that once you establish, you know, your base knowledge, you know, you have let's put it this way. You have a core recipe, okay? And that core recipe is, it's not going to produce the exact same piece every time, but that's your base for all the different things that you make. So it's really not as there are difficulties. I'm not calling it simple, but it's not like you have to remember 10,000 things. What you have to do is you have to learn the base recipe, and that base recipe can produce infinite number of results.
Right.
He's making suggestions that you guys should all be considering when you start to lay out the plan for your composition or your layout or your palette. So
okay.
The thing on this piece, the things that bug me most are the perspective, and Ash would probably rip you a new one on that if you wanted at some point when she's around. But like color wise, like I was talking about that how neutral gray does like all this crazy heavy lifting if you put it inside of your shadow areas. This is exactly the reason why. It's like when you have like a character with like an orange costume and you have like orange highlights and orange shadows, it is so much harder to read and it's so much less interesting visually than if you can start like what you're doing back here on this bit of cloth. I think is what you should be doing in a lot more areas. Like this, you can go and take like what you're ultimately doing is trying to mix some of this sky color in with the orange to produce a more neutral gray tone that you can use as a fill. If you use a more neutral fill color, you can create some really, really interesting color results without actually having to introduce a ton of colors. You can see all these areas that you have this fill light in that you're using like a white light. If you use a like complementary color instead, you'll end up with a grayer area, and like it ends up allowing you to like not only pop out like the highlights, the way that the highlights like bring out the local colors much better, but but you also end up with like more to play around with in terms of like contrast. Because you have like multiple dimensions of contrast now. Like you could make this like a darker gray. Like it could be, you could play around with the contrast and the shadows from value, but also from hue and also saturation. Oh, my Photoshop is like fully crashing on me.
Peter, you mentioned perspective. I want to throw something at you. So this came across my desk the other day. I'll put the image in chat. Studio Ghibli did this great broken perspective.
I was mentioning that the other day. I was like, yeah, Studio Ghibli doesn't do perspective right. Like, you know, we're not, and so we shouldn't have to do it right either.
Well, this you might like this then. So I there's a video that goes along with this. I can't find it, but the photos got lines on it, and they broke the perspective so that they could make the room feel more spacious. Because if it had true perspective on it, the door that the girls are standing in, it feels much smaller, and you lose a lot of the depth of the background because you basically crop out a lot of what's happening in the far back scene. But I just love the elegance of this, and I just, since you were talking about the broken perspective on the other piece, I thought this might be somewhat relevant and or interesting. So
yeah, I mean, having the perspective be right, I don't value that very highly. It's just a matter of like, there's something that looks wrong anatomically, like this foot looks tiny because of how much we're pushing this like really big, bold perspective. And yet, so we're not getting the kind of foreshortening that I would expect on like the anatomy here with, you know, this forward arm and this forward foot still feeling kind of small. And like this axe head for this knoll here, it looks so tiny.
So small. It looks so tiny.
And then what's even worse is that like the further axe blade looks like it's actually bigger than the one that's closer to us. So I'm like, at the very least, can we get like the same size? But it's like, yeah, it's like theoretically we would be getting like, this thing would be, if it's this close to us, is going to be at least bigger on this side than on the front side. But you've managed to flip it.
You know why the drawing's so bad?
Why?
Well, sort of like this is the worst thing I've like painted recently that I spent a long time on. Like I've painted worse things that I didn't spend that much time on, and I've painted worse things far back in the past. But this is the worst recent thing that like significant effort went into. And it's because a client commissioned me to do an illustration, and I have never done an illustration before. And I was also not getting paid that much money, so I was like, okay, I got to do it fast. And you know that thing you always say about like fixing things early on, so they don't go to hell later on?
Yeah.
I did not follow that advice.
You're like, I'm going to take this bus ticket that says hell on it, and I'm going to go, I don't know what I'm going to find in there, but I bet it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, pretty much.
Straight to hell.
Yeah, so it's like drawn bad, and then it's like also painted bad. And the thing that sucks too is like
the rendering's
I really
not that
like
bad.
The character in the background.
Yeah, this guy. There's a lot going on here that worked out really well. Like, there's a lot about this that's overall working out really well. It's just, it feels like you're. The thing about the color for me is that like it feels like you've said no to a bunch of fun options. You know? Like, it's like you have like reflective metal and like, you know, you have this like really bold lighting and like lots of energy in the scene, and yet you're like, you know what, I'm gonna really carefully render out like 3 variations of the same hue for the entire outfit. And I'm like,
yeah,
you have all these colors in the scene to sample from, to mix through here to make like vibrant neutral colors, and like you have the green in the eyes that can be used like in accents around here. Like, you can just start grabbing random colors from throughout the scene and just start putting little bits of them everywhere, and you'll never be punished for it. If you have a coherent set of colors and you just start grabbing your favorite ones and putting them wherever, as long as like they're consistent in terms of like value and color temperature, it will always look right. and then you will get that more of that rainbowy effect. It's when you like commit to making like, this is the highlight, this is the shadow, this is the medium tone, and they're all variations of the same hue. It's just like the most boring possible option, and then it's also boring to work on.
I really hated the colors in this thing the entire time I was working on it for like reasons I don't fully understand. I do like the one part I do like color wise is I like her face. Like I like the hues in her hair and skin and like.
One of the things I really like that you did on the face is that you picked like a lighting direction where you had that one moment. You're like, there's this one shaft of light that's going to shine across the face, and then you've got, you know, cast shadow from the hair going down over the you know, the forehead and the nose and stuff, and then like everything else is sort of downturned. Like that little sliver of light thing, it's like, okay, great, let's add some drama there. Like that's awesome. You can. I wonder how much you could get away with.
There was a version of this where I actually went and like took the colors in this face and applied them to the entire thing. So the desert was like pink and the sky was like teal, and stuff. And I liked it better, but the client didn't like it. So I had to like grab it.
Yeah, when I'm trying to find like the reason I use gradient maps is because it's like when there's like colors are like colors and values are fine. I just want like more variation. I want more oomph or something. It's really easy to just be like, okay, well, let's see what happens when a bunch of colors end up in a bunch of the wrong spots.
Holy crap, that's fun.
And it's like, is this a coherent solution to the whole piece? No, absolutely not. But is it cool that like we're getting these reds inside the shadows? Like, yes.
Yeah.
It is. And so it's like you can start getting selective about, oh, I want to keep that bit or this bit. And like something like this, something I use all the time, where it's like, okay, it's just this is just like a couple of bands of color that like end up randomly sort of throughout the scene, and it creates like this stripy effect that you get through gradients, where all the transitions start like changing color. So like you can see in the clouds and stuff, like it changes color like twice over the length of it.
Oh, yeah.
And it goes from being like monochrome, like it's just white over blue, to like all these colors, and you don't have to work for it like at all. And you can see, oh, it's the sky color is now coming into the rocks, and it can go from like really orange to really blue and still read just fine. And overall, it's like there's a lot of places where it's doing bad stuff, but you can just select the areas that are where it's working well and use those, and then dump the rest, and like use it as jumping off point to like come up with interesting choices.
There's this artist called Lack, who I really like, who uses a process similar to like what you're going through. The trouble is, it's hard to figure out what he's doing from just like watching time lapses because it's all sped up and I don't know the Photoshop interface that well. So I've done lots of studies where I'm like trying to paint along with him and then like immediately losing track of what the hell he's doing.
Oh, check this out.
Bro.
This is my inside out gradient map where it turns the values, like it reverses the values in the midtones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like instant atmosphere because it's like it's flattening out. Like you could use this selectively to like really push the atmosphere on places because it's keeping the line art intact. But look at how much cool contrast it's bringing in on like this guy back here.
Yeah.
What's the hotkey for that gradient map?
Oh, it's not a hotkey. I mean, if you go to the layer styles, there's like what it is it starts as like a medium blue and then it goes to a highlight, then it goes to a shadow, and then it goes back to a highlight. It's like a default in like old versions of Photoshop. But look at what it does to this guy's values. It like takes all the tones that are kind of like near each other, that are glomming together, and it teases them apart so that like the big highlights are there and like the deep shadows are there, the line art is there, but it washes out a bunch, and it it's maybe not good at 100%, but you might want it on just like just parts where you want to fade out, but like you don't want to like mess with the line art too bad.
Yeah. Did I need that in my life?
I don't know. There's like so many options. Like to me, like the painting part of it is like the most playful, interesting part, and like coming up with like a cool thing that I can get excited about when it comes to like the color and contrast and stuff. That's like the thing that keeps me coming back to like making shit like this, is because it's not just like a horrible like punishment. It's like a fun puzzle that has all these different solutions.
Yeah, one is so punishing. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, if you apply the skills that you've been using up to this point on top of like messing around with some of this stuff, I think you're gonna get really great results.
Let's hope. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is go through some paintings I abandoned and see if I can like finish them now that I've like art aged a bit. And it'll be an opportunity to like just paint for like a couple weeks, you know?
I would love to see what happens if you try to do an illustration where you're not being like underpaid and rush through it, but like you try to like take on some ambitious idea that you've had of like, you know, pick an OC, pick a design that you really like the design, and see if you could do like a full blown like hero illustration.
Yeah.
And just do a big fun full on hero piece with like a cool background and like a design that you love, and you know, plan every step of it in a way where you know that you're going to be able to finish it. That's like the big thing, is like, don't stick yourself like with like, oh, I'll figure out the background later, or I have an idea that should be in a castle. Like, plan out all the steps so that you know what's coming next, so you don't bait yourself into a corner and get like permanently stuck.
All right, yeah. I don't know. It's just man, there's always this like pressure to go fast. I'm trying to grow my Twitter, so I'm trying to have like something to post every day. It's like always in the back of my mind. There's like me telling me to hurry up.
I guess. You don't need to post every day to grow on social media. You need to like, I mean, like with Twitter, it's like you grow and you get retweets. So like you need to have a piece that people care enough about to retweet.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I also have like a backlog of stuff too that I can just like post. And I don't know, like some of my best work, I like posted it first on Twitter and like no one saw it. So like I feel like people don't know that it's already on my Twitter, so I could just like post it again.
You have
like,
so many character design pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, a decent chunk of them are like good enough to post, I think, too. So yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot.
I could like coast on that for a while. Oh, also, I had that thing happen again. I posted a piece that I like never finished on Twitter, and it's like my most popular post so far.
Oh,
it's
yeah?
like a painting I abandoned because like I couldn't figure out how to like make it work.
Huh.
And I posted it in the unfinished state, and people liked it.
They're allowed to like it.
Yeah, I kind of like it too in hindsight. I don't know why I gave up on it. I was trying to copy Zeronis's lighting on like one of his pieces, and I'm just way worse at texture than that guy is. And I was like beating myself up for not getting the textures right. But looking back at it, it's like, oh, what the hell? This was turning out okay. Like, yeah, the textures aren't right, but it doesn't need to have good textures. Like,
well, I mean, you know, what I've found is that I don't always have a good sense on like how well something is actually turning out. There's been a lot of times where I felt like I was aiming for a particular effect, and I was only getting about 30% of the way there, and I was like, you know what, I need to ship it anyway. And then I released it, and people were like, wow, this is your best painting ever. I'm like, what? Why are you talking about? Like, it's totally weird because sometimes people see a thing that you're doing in it that you don't even realize is like necessarily happening, and like they'll latch onto it and be like, that thing you're doing is so cool, and you're like, I tried to do it, but I think I only did about 30%. And they can be like, no, you're doing it better than I've ever seen. It's like you get so focused on like trying to pull off a particular idea that you will like lose all perspective on whether or not you're actually achieving it. And so you need to like just post it and see what other people think, whether or not you're actually pulling it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Just put it in the chat. I'm thinking of revisiting this, just trying to finish it now that I've like leveled up a bit.
Let's see, you got the whole flowy. I love flowy hair and flowy smoke and stuff. It's always fun.
Oh, I can't even show mine. I feel like it's so terrible compared to yours, bro. Like, you rock, man.
Thanks.
You're doing rendering here. What's going on? You know how to do rendering. You're doing some rendering in here.
Yeah. I just like I kind of figured because like the scene feels dark, right? Like it's probably some kind of like local light source that's hitting her. Otherwise, the background would be illuminated, right? So I was trying to put a lot of like fall off.
Not necessarily.
The,
like
lighting.
That's not necessarily true. Like there's a lot of lighting environments where like lighting that's happening on the figure is not going to appear directly behind them.
Oh yeah, I guess it could be like a spotlight too.
But also like if it's open space, like then there's nothing for the light to hit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just in space.
I mean, there's like you can have a lot of distance between the figure and what's behind them. So you don't need to have it like falling on the thing that's right next to where they are necessarily. You've done a lot of good drawings. This is not my favorite. Saying this is the one that was busted. This was one that was busting loose on like Twitter or whatever.
Yeah, Twitter liked it. I agree with you about the drawing. I have a version of this where I went back to try to fix the drawing after I'd gotten it to this stage and like couldn't figure it out. But yeah, there's a lot of drawing mistakes.
I think the thing that gets me about it is like, you know, when you have like smoke and hair and stuff, you can use it to like what it's really good at is showing off like the forces that are acting on it. And like the forces here are so linear and they're like and there's like so little overlap between them that I don't feel like you're even getting the full benefit of all this stuff. And then you've got like, I don't know, like the face feels like it should be the focal point, but you have all this stuff like leading out in front of it. Like she's leading head first into this like big move, but then there's all this stuff that's leading in front of her. Like I would think that if there's smoke trailing behind her, that like you're better off really exploiting all the overlap that's happening and sort of weaving it around, like having the smoke come up like behind the head and then back in front of the hair and like, you know, weaving it around instead of like having it lead like way out here off to the right in front of the head. Like one of the things I keep testing to see whether or not I can avoid it, but like I'm trying to make angels like look like towering, and one of the things I always end up needing to like edit is like I keep wanting to like have other stuff in the scene with them, like big mountains and things. But when like a mountaintop is like taller than the character, then it always ends up overshadowing them. So I always end up having like their head be like, in this case, like the hand is kind of competing with the height. The horn is peeking up just above it. But like I always end up having like the character's head sticking above all the other background elements. So like even when there's like mountains or something, it's going to be kind of like below where they are. But like if you have a character that's like traveling head first through space, having like a thing that's like ahead of them slows them down a lot. Like if you're going to have like things trail. If you want to have somebody like moving like this, then you have all of the action like trailing back off of them, right? And like it's like the head of an arrow like sticking out in front.
Yeah, I feel like while I'm looking at it, I'm not the best artist, but I struggle with concentrating on it. Like
You're the best artist to me, bro.
Thank you, bro.
Oh, same here. I struggle with that too. Like focusing for a long period of time. Is that it?
Yeah, I feel like everybody struggles with that. But that's not what he's talking about. I think he's talking about my painting doesn't have like a strong focal point in it.
Yeah, and it's like I'm looking at it and I'm kind of like getting lost and I'm not sure where to look.
Yeah, there's like detail everywhere.
Yeah, there's that, but having detail everywhere could be a whole thing. Like you can have detail everywhere, but it needs to serve like the flow of the painting. So, yeah, with this, I mean, if you wanted to keep going with that piece,
Oh God, I'm so sorry for taking you away from your angel.
no, this is distracting for a reason. I'm like looking at my own thing. I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of problems I want to solve, and I'm trying to close it out on this thing.
Okay.
Like, you got this nice bright face. Like, let it shine a little bit out in front.
I love the fire exploding out of the blade, though, and I don't want to sacrifice that.
I do. I do too, but the thing is like, okay, let's... we need overlap. We want like this. I feel like if there's a way we could even bring the head... The pose, I'm having a hard time reading it, like...
Yeah, it's broken.
It feels really broken. Is this the rear shoulder? Is this? It's the rear of the arm.
Yeah. Look, the neck is the worst part. It's super long. The shoulder is.
But it's like, can we bring? If the head is leading the body, can we bring it like all the way forward?
Oh yeah.
I mean, can we have her really, because it's like her spine is going up like this, right? And so like she's in a head first pose. And then I was like, wait, what's happening with the neck here? Because now it's like we'd be seeing a bit of her back. And then you can stick the booba straight down. You can still have the cleavage, but the booba is going to go downwards. The flames exploding off of the sword, I think, is a cool detail. But like you could have it like instead of avoiding the hair, you could have it going around and playing off of the figure and interweaving like the flames and the hair one over the top of the other.
Catch the hair on fire.
Oh no.
And like you have it light all the way across, but there's like two different light elements. Like if you had the hair being darker in spots and then the flames being lighter, you could have them contrast each other and then also overlap each other like this, like weave around in like a double helix. Really play around with like the kind of flowy relationships. And I would definitely pick areas where you're clumping some of this stuff so that the ways in which you're breaking it apart into smaller pieces feels more satisfying.
Yeah, I do this thing, or at least it's been a while since I've drawn fire, but it's very easy to zoom in too close when you're designing fire, and it looks good when you're zoomed in, and then you zoom out, and it's like, oh, that is way busier than I intended to make it.
I love doing windy organic shapes like this, like
yeah, me too.
I've been doing it for years. Where is it?
I feel like it would be kind of cool, like to draw this in a different style.
Whoa, what the fuck?
You know, let me explain. Like, I did last time, not last time, in another server, we did like for fun, we did one piece. We took one piece from a pro artist and we tried to do it in our different style, but we keep the pose, we keep everything going on, but we draw it in our style. So the entries were nice to look at.
Oh man,
He's kind of he kind of went in my mind.
So, I love drawing like flowing smoke, like, and it's like you can go crazy small. Yeah, like I could go even smaller on the detail than this, but like it only works because I like laid it out rougher earlier. Like it comes together in layers. Where like the earliest stages are like the biggest blobbiest versions of it, and then it's a matter of like subdividing down in like pieces and making it like fractal. So you like you can have like these bigger blobbier ones, and then this is one of the things I love about painting is that like you can keep the general big blobby shape like this, and then like take a subtler, smaller little bit instead of having to like have it be, you know, on and off like just two-tone. You can go and subdivide like smaller variations inside of like blobbier areas and get like really organic about it. And it works at a distance because, you know, like as you get smaller and smaller in, you end up with these like finer and finer little variations.
It's a really cool painting.
But like, you know, part of it is because like if every single bit of it was going to this level of white, it would look like a huge mess. But like the areas that are coming back off of here, they're never pushing up past like a mid-tone. It's funny, this is like so much rougher than I would paint it nowadays, but you can see all the accidental colors that I got from earlier in the process, all the weird yellows and stuff and blues, and just like grabbing them and pushing them around in different places to try to create that look.
Yeah, it makes it feel...
I think I used like a weird textured brush that I only used once because there's like a lot of texture in here that doesn't look familiar to me at all. Like, this is not the kind of textured brush I use nowadays. Like, what the fuck is with this grain here? But yeah, picking just working inside like a tighter value range like this allows you to just go completely crazy on the detail level and get rewarded for it at the end. And so like one of the difficulties here is just like having this all be this, like you're going to need to like create a hierarchy here. I mean, you'd need to fix the anatomical issues and like create some more overlap and stuff. But then once you start building like a greater level of hierarchy within like the all these winding shapes, so that it still reads good, you're gonna end up with like you still get to keep all of like the tiny little wiggly textures, but like you should still be able to have the whole piece read as a whole.
Okay. More overlap.
Yeah, I mean, some of it comes down to some of it. Yeah, it's just going to come down to overlap. Like, you want to show each piece on its own, separate, unoverlapped, but you're going to get way more value out of like building in places where they like overlap each other, and then picking the spots where they're like poking out from behind each other to like highlight what's cool about them.
Okay. Damn, but I don't want to redraw the whole thing, Pete. That's hard.
You just do a new piece. Just call this one a learning experience.
Yeah, all right.
Pete, heads up, you've got about 14 minutes till 3 hours.
Yeah. I'm going to, I mean, we're just chit-chatting about Jazz's work at this point. I'm going to log off. I haven't eaten today, so I'm going to eat breakfast at 3 o'clock, and then, you know, so my brain doesn't melt, and then I'm going to actually do some of the work that I'm a week late on. So thanks, everyone, for showing up. It's good seeing a lot of you guys. I recognize a lot of names in the chat. So I will be back tomorrow to stream again.
Thanks so much for all the help, Pete.
Yeah, I sure hope it's not too much. I don't want to feel like I'm just picking on you.
Oh no, dude. Feedback's much appreciated.
Oh wait.
And you're like a busy
Dustin.
professional.
Did you? Oh, he's muted. We need somebody to raid. I don't know who should I raid? Who can I raid?
Sorry for stream, Jazz.
If anybody in chat knows some channels that are live right now, none of the channels I'm following are live.
Let me look up someone to.
See someone who's streaming art who's live right now that I can raid. I gotta remember to do this.
Yeah. Let me see.
Forget.
In the art section.
I always forget. I'm being a bad Twitch
Unless
streamer.
people know of some.
You're literally the only one online on my list.
Well, feel free to drop suggestions in the chat. I almost forgot again. Dustin was supposed to research. He said he was going to research and remind me, but
this Czech person looks like they're pretty good. Throw this in the Discord. You can check her out.
Someone's going to be like, oh my God, you rated her. She's like the most canceled person on all of Twitch. Can't believe that they still allow her to have an account after all of the stuff that's happened. All right. So we're going to TV of Yusheni. Tofu Senshi.
Set a personal reminder on people to raid.
All right. Go raid Tofu Senshi. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Raid now.
You did the command?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
All right. I'm off.